What up, YouTube? Welcome back to Blacktop Diaries. This week's episode, we are going to be installing, as the thumbnail suggests, Hogworkz Sabertooth headlights. I'm super stoked about it. So the reason why I bought these headlights is twofold. One, they look badass. I love the look of those LED pods. And for two, I wanted one of my headlights to be amber because they say it's better for fog. And you know, like fog lights on vehicles are that amber color. Well, in this area, we get a lot of fog. So just kind of makes sense to do it. But really the main reason is they're just badass. They look great. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing this week. Let's get into it. Step number one when doing this install is going to be, if you have the ability to get your bike level, do it. I have a nice bike lift. Well, it's not a super nice bike lift. It's a Harbor Freight bike lift, but it does the trick. So the first thing I'm gonna do before I start disassembling anything is I'm gonna get the bike nice up and level. I'm gonna turn the headlights on and I'm gonna make a mark on my wall of where that headlight is. So that way when I install the new ones, I can do the adjustments and not be blinding people on the road. So let's do that. Got the headlights on. That way, when I install the new headlights, I know where I need to keep the beam under. As long as I don't move the bike at all. Step number one in installing these Hogworkz Sabertooths is you gotta get the windshield off. So let's do that. Step number two is going to be removing this piece. And from everything I can see online, you basically just got to pull up on it. Let's give it a shot. Well, would you look at that? All you got to do is pull up on it. Step number three is you want to disconnect your turn signals from this location, because you have to remove the turn signals to get the outer fairing off, the outer, the shell. Step number four, we're gonna be popping out the speaker grills while it's in this configuration. I'll show you how. Basically what you do is you take your hand, you slide it back here, and you just push out. Voila. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to remove the fairing deflectors on the lower part of the fairing. You don't have to pull the whole thing out, you just need that bottom T25 out because that one is actually helping holding the fairing, if that makes any sense. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the turn signals on the side of the bike, on the side of the fairing, the front turn signals, and that is a 3/16 Allen. Now, the next step is to remove the bolts. The reason why I had to remove the speaker lid, or the speaker covers and the fairing, is because the last bolts that we have to remove to get this outer shell off are right inside there. And that is a T27. When removing the last bolt, keep a hand on your fairing so it doesn't fall off. And now our front end of our road guide kind of looks like Robin Williams on Bicentennial Man when they had his face off. So that's basically the easy part, right? Is getting to the work. Now what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be unplugging and removing the existing headlights, and then we'll do some unboxing. That'll be fun. So the next step is going to be removing the 4 bolts holding the headlight, the stock headlight, into the fairing, and that is a 3/16 Allen. Save this hardware. You know what? I don't think we should be throwing hardware away, like ever, okay? Whenever you do something, keep the hardware. You never know when you're gonna need a 1/4x20 bolt or a 3/16 Allen cap screw. Like, just let's stop throwing hardware away. Keep it in a little box, label it with what it came off of. I'm not a pack rat or anything by any stretch of the means, but I've thrown away hardware that I've desperately needed to find. So, just my 2 cents. Okay, now that we got the 4 bolts out, now what we're gonna do is we're going to unplug it and just pull it right out. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't really know what I just pulled off of the headlight, but it looks important. So I'm gonna do my best when I put the new headlight on to just kind of tuck it away. Voila. Time for some unboxing. You guys know how much I love stickers. Bam. Our next step is to be bolting this on. This is the bracket that actually holds the headlight to the bike. So exciting. Whoop, whoop. Now these bottom ones are also going to support the headlight itself. The headlight assembly will sit right here, and those bottom bolts are actually going to go through that as well. So don't put the bottom ones in quite yet. Next step is to plug in the splitter. Plug and play, guys. It's the way to go. Our next job is to be actually mounting the headlight assembly to that bracket. So let's do that. Before you do that though, you're gonna wanna mount these standoffs to the headlight bracket itself. That way it'll actually support these vents right here. So these will be behind that and then mounted to that. I hope that makes sense. I'll try to get a better shot of it when I'm done. So what I was talking about earlier with the standoffs, this is how it's supposed to look. So you have the standoff in here, and then that standoff is mounted to that back bracket, and then it mounts to this, this vent right here. Basically what that does is it keeps your vent from flapping around, just gives it extra support. Next thing we're going to install is this little piece that Hogworkz gives you. Basically what it does is these bolts go through here and then they go through the top bit, and it's like a little cowl piece. I don't know what it does. And fun fact, these bits are also supposed to go in here, so I need to undo those. Kind of like that. Now I understand what it does. Keeps all this off of your headlights. Gives it a nice clean look. I like it. And remember, this is all plastic, so you don't gotta wrench it down. Well, you gotta wrench it down. You know, don't be breaking plastic here. Well, I can tell you right now that they're brighter than stock because I'm having a hard time seeing. But now that we got that done, let's go ahead and button the bike up. Make sure you keep a hand on the fairing while you're doing this, at least for the first bolt. That way it can't come undone. You know, half the time, these videos take an extra amount of time because I don't know where I put the thing that was just in my pocket. Gotta look harder. And voila. So of course, after any time you install anything on your bike that's electrical, you're gonna want to turn the bike on, go through all the functions, ensure that you're not throwing any codes from unplugging things or plugging things back in. You shouldn't have any problems with something as simple as headlights, but you never know these days. So again, go through your bike's infotainment center for a little bit, make sure nothing comes on. And of course, before you button everything back up like we did, make sure that the headlights work. And as you can see, they work amazing. I like the positioning based off of my mark on the wall that we made at the very beginning of this video. I am going to tighten the headlights down a little bit. They are, you can kind of push them a little bit too easy for my liking. So I will get in there, and I believe it's a 9/16 wrench or a 7/16 wrench. But we'll get in there, tighten those up, and boy, I can't wait for springtime because these things are gonna be awesome. Today is supposed to be pretty decent weather, so maybe I'll take the bike out, do some test riding with these new headlights. I'm not gonna be able to tell too much until nighttime, but tonight I will pull the bike out, throw those headlights on, and let you see what it looks like in all their glory in my driveway. So stick around for that. As you can see, it's nighttime now. Check these things out. That's ridiculous. So this is your standard low beam. Let's go to high beam. Pretty ridiculous. So as you guys can tell, these headlights are extremely bright, not to mention they look awesome. And as I go on more rides, I will give you guys my impressions as I put some miles on them. I think I can already tell I need to lift them up a bit, but for right now, I'm gonna leave them as is until I get a couple of night rides on. All right, guys, there you have it. So it's the next day, well, it's the next morning. I filmed that little clip of the actual headlights on last night, and then had some family time, so I figured I'd film the outro to this video the next morning. As you can see in that little clip of the headlights, and right now, I actually switched which lamp was the amber and which light was the not amber one. And I did that for a very specific reason. They say, and I'm sure it doesn't really matter, but everything I read online about having an amber light on your motorcycle, the rule of thumb is to have that amber light on the left-hand side. And that is for, obviously, the fog, and you want your fog light closest to the yellow line on the road. So you're kind of cutting through the middle of the lane, you can see more through the fog. Whether that is like 100% accurate, I don't know, but might as well give it a shot, right? So anyways, that's the entire install. In order to switch those lamps, I did have to take the entire fairing apart again, remove the headlight assembly, and then flip those lights and then reinstall everything. But practice makes perfect, because the second time around was really easy, went real quick, because when you guys watched me at the beginning part of this video actually install these headlights, it was the first time I've ever removed a fairing, other than the electric glide. It was the first time I've ever removed a road glide fairing. So you guys know the drill. When I install something, I will kind of discuss it a little bit of my first impressions. So my first impressions of these headlights are really good. All of the hardware and mounting and the quality, it feels really good. And it was actually very simple to install due to the plug and play nature of this specific brand. And I know at this point it seems like I'm being sponsored by Hogworkz, because I got a bunch of Hogworkz parts on my bike, but I promise you I'm not. The reason why I decided to do the Hogworkz Sabertooth set instead of the Baja LP6s or some of the other brands is a couple of different reasons. The first reason is the Hogworkz ones are like half the cost. Spending $1,500 on a headlight was going to be a hard justification for me. But this set, as it sits right here, is $800, which is still pretty pricey, but it was well within my budget of what I was willing to spend on a headlight. A second reason is because the Hogworkz Sabertooths, or the Silvertooths, or the Goldtooths, depending on whichever one you get, that's just saying which, if it's all silver, a silver, and an amber, or 2 amber. That's all that means. But this one was literally plug and play. I didn't have to alter the wiring harness, and some of the other kits out there have you cut and splice into the wiring harness to make it. I didn't want to do any of that. As well as this still allows me to have my vents. These vents right here. Some of the other brands take up that entire channel and you don't have any vents on your fairing. As well as these are smaller than the Baja LP6s, and by that I mean the depth isn't as great. So the Baja lights are twice as thick. These are more like the stock headlights with the width of them, how deep they go or how far they stick out on your fairing. And I liked the look of these the best with how they actually sit inside of the Road Glide fairing. Again, first impressions, they are extremely bright. Now with the stock headlights, you get a definitive, like a line on the side of a building of where your headlights break off and there's no more light, if you will. So remember at the beginning part of the video when I put this piece of tape up on the wall, I had a very definitive line on the wall to kind of go off of. These, they're LEDs and they're multiple LEDs obviously, so the light is very diffused. It's very spread out. So you don't get that line on the wall, which I guess could kind of constitute a negative, because adjusting the height is probably gonna take a couple of early morning rides to work. And then I bring some, and by the way, it is a 7/16, not a 9/16, but bringing a couple of 7/16 wrenches with me to work and seeing how it is in traffic, right, on the road, and then pulling into work and putting it up against the wall, seeing where it's sitting on the wall and either raising it or lowering it. But what I've done is I've basically bottomed them out. I've gone all the way down as I can, and then I will just adjust up as I see fit. And so yeah, that's how I'm gonna have to get the final adjustment on that. So another point I wanted to make is this kit isn't gonna be $800 for everyone. If you are on a batwing fairing bike or a Softail, then yours is gonna be, it's gonna be different, obviously. They have kits for batwing fairings and bikes with just a solitary headlight, and that runs about $500, not $800. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to do this modification to your bike and you do not have a shark nose fairing. As far as throwing codes, I did throw one code after I had completely put everything back together. Everything was plugged in. I took the bike out. I turned the ignition on, let the lights come on. I did have an engine code until I started the bike, and then that engine code went away. And I know it wasn't just the normal check engine light that comes on every time you hit your ignition before you start it, because the check engine light remained on for probably about a minute after my bike was on, actually started, and in my driveway showing the lights on my garage door. But after about a minute, it completely went away and it hasn't come back. So I think the bike figured out, oh, okay, there is a headlight or whatever. I don't know what the bike is thinking, but yeah, let's take one last look at this headlight assembly and then we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. So as you can see with this plate back here, it gives it such a nice clean look. I need to wipe the bike down again. Everything tucks nicely behind everything. You can tell that the company really thought hard on how to make this look as factory as possible with these badass looking headlights, because when I put like that top piece that goes on top of it, at first I was like, I don't know what this is and if I'm even gonna use it. And then turns out you need to use it, but it served a very good purpose on keeping that wiring harness that's sitting on top of that fairing from drooping down in front of your headlights. And no one wants that. No one wants your wiring just to be jostling around and moving around. So you could definitely tell that they thought ahead. And it's a very well-designed setup. I really enjoy it, but let's take one last look at it. So make sure you guys hit that like button. Comment if you are planning on switching to LED headlights or why you wouldn't switch to LED headlights. Just drop some engagement, in the comment section below. If you guys aren't subscribed, it would be a lot cooler if you were. Again, I really appreciate you guys stopping by, checking this video out. Make sure you keep the shiny side up, the rubber side down. I'll see you guys when I see you.